I moved back to my childhood home just a few weeks ago. I thought it would bring me peace. I'm 32 now and a librarian. My mom is getting old, and I wanted to take care of her. The neighborhood is quiet. The houses are mostly from the 1970s, filled with old memories. My home has peeling paint and creaky floors. I chose it for the memories. I've never stopped thinking about it. On my second night, I woke up to soft footsteps in the hallway. At first, I brushed it off. I thought it was the house settling. I went back to sleep. But the next night, the footsteps were louder. I told myself it was nothing to worry about. It felt absurd to be scared of my own house. I thought I knew how to handle a creaky house, or so I thought. As the nights wore on, the footsteps changed. They grew louder and closer. Sometimes they stopped right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath, straining to listen. My heart raced in the silence, and I felt cold. I wanted to say it was my imagination, but deep down, I knew something was off. I finally asked my mother about the previous owner. I had almost forgotten she mentioned that they vanished without a trace. Her words unsettled me. Memories of childhood whispers about the old house returned. I remembered kids at school saying strange things about it. I shoved those thoughts aside. I didn't want to believe any of it. But when my mom said they searched for the owner and found nothing, chills ran down my spine. It felt like the house had been waiting for me to return. One night, I sat up in bed. I strained my ears, listening for the familiar creaks. The footsteps began again. They drifted down the hall and stopped right outside my door. My palms were sweaty, and a knot formed in my stomach. I didn't want to move, but I needed to know. I got up and stepped toward the door. I took a deep breath and reached for the handle. Just as my hand touched it, the footsteps started again, heading back down the hall. I froze. I whispered, "Hello." I wasn't sure why I said it but felt I had to. Then something shifted behind me. I turned around, but there was nothing. I could still hear the footsteps fading away. It felt wrong. Was it all in my head? What happened in this old house? What else might be waiting for me? The next night, I couldn't shake the fear. I closed my eyes tight, hoping it was all just a bad dream. But as soon as I relaxed, the footsteps crept back, cold and familiar. They came closer, and I could almost hear a whisper. I thought about leaving, but I didn't want to run away from home. I gripped the sheets tightly. I didn't know what to do. I just stayed there, heart racing, listening. The footsteps continued. They felt like they were right there, with me, as the dark wrapped around the house. I wanted to scream for help, but the words wouldn't come. The following night, the footsteps were back. This time, there was a distinct rhythm to them, almost like a familiar song. They creaked along the floorboards with intent. I lay frozen, waiting for them to stop outside my door again. But this time, they didn't. Instead, they continued down the hallway and disappeared into the darkness of the house. After what felt like an eternity, I decided to follow. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stepped onto the cold floor. My heart raced in my chest, but a sense of determination forced me to move. I tiptoed down the hall, my fingers brushing against the wall for support. As I reached the end of the hallway, I could see a light flickering from the kitchen. It wasn't on when I went to bed. I edged closer, peeking into the room. There, on the table, I saw an old, dusty photo frame. My heartbeat quickened as I realized I hadn't left anything out. The flickering light came from a candle sitting next to the frame. I stepped inside, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. I picked up the frame, brushing away layers of dust. It was a picture of the previous family who had lived here. They all looked so happy, smiling as if they had made endless memories in this house. A chill crept up my spine as I recognized the young girl in the photo. She looked just like me at that age. I could see the familiar spark in her eyes, the same innocence I once had. Then, as I studied the photograph, I noticed something strange. Behind the family, in the shadows, stood a figure. It was vague, but I could make out the outline of a person. The photo was old, but it sent a wave of unease through me. I dropped the frame back onto the table, my throat tightening. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash from the living room. It sounded like something had fallen, and my heart leapt into my throat. I turned toward the noise, frozen for a moment. My instincts told me to run back to my room, to lock the door, but that same determination kept my feet rooted in place. I stepped cautiously into the living room, keeping my eyes open for whatever had caused the sound. The room was dark, and I felt vulnerable in the shadows. Then I saw it, the old lamp on the side table had tipped over. Its shade lay on the floor, and I could see that the light bulb was still glowing faintly. Just as I bent down to pick it up, I felt a cold breath near my ear. The sound of soft whispers filled the air, repeating my name in a haunting echo. Please help. The voice was faint but clear, twisting through the silence like a chill. I straightened up quickly, the hair on my neck standing on end. I knew I wasn't alone. Panicking, I turned to run back to my room, but I found the hallway was no longer the way I left it. The walls seemed to shift, closing in on me. My breath quickened as I realized I had lost my sense of direction. That's when I saw it. In the corner of my eye, a shadow darted across the far end of the living room, disappearing into the darkness. My heart raced even faster. I wasn't just hearing footsteps anymore, I was seeing something. Something was here with me. As I took a step back, everything went dark. I stumbled, disoriented in the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to calm my racing thoughts. The silence was thick, pressing against my ears, and I strained to hear any sign of movement. But all I could hear was my own breathing. Suddenly, a crack of light pierced through the void. It flickered back to life as the old lamp switched on by itself. Blinking away the darkness, I squinted at the familiar surroundings. The living room was just as I had left it, but something felt wrong. The shadows now danced along the walls, playing tricks with my mind. That's when I noticed the figure in the corner again, but now it was clearer. It wasn't just a shapeless shadow, it had form. A girl, no older than I had been in that photograph, stood there staring at me with wide, hollow eyes. Panic coursed through me, and I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. "Help me," she whispered, her voice echoing eerily in the muted room. The air grew colder, and I felt the chill seep into my bones as she took a slow step forward. "Who are you?" I finally managed, my voice shaky. The girl didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to the wall behind her. The faint outline of a door began to materialize, hidden in the shadows like a secret waiting to be found. I felt drawn to it, my feet moving before my mind could question what I was doing. With each step closer, the whispers swelled around me, swirling into a desperate chorus. They pleaded for help, just like her. The door beckoned, a promise of answers lingering on the other side. I reached for the handle, my fingers trembling as I gripped it. Just then, a loud bang echoed from the back of the house, jolting me out of my trance and shattering the tension in the air. The girl vanished, and I was left alone in the living room, heart racing, every instinct screaming at me to run. Instead, I stood frozen for a moment, torn between curiosity and fear. The noise had come from that room, the one I had avoided since moving in. The door to it was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness inviting me in. Taking a deep breath, I moved toward it, feeling as if I was walking on the edge of a cliff. Every step was heavy with dread not entirely my own. I pushed the door open further. The air inside was stale, filled with dust and the scent of something long forgotten. What I found sent a jolt through my veins, old, crumbling boxes piled high, all overflowing with forgotten memories. Among them sat another dusty photo frame. I couldn't help but wonder if it held more mysteries about the house. Just as I reached for it, the house creaked ominously, and I heard the soft padding of footsteps behind me once more. I spun around, heart in my throat, a new wave of fear flooding over me. Someone or something was waiting. I held my breath, ready to face whatever awaited. I turned slowly, trying to control my breathing. My eyes darted around the dim room, but nothing immediately sprang into view. The footsteps had stopped, replaced by a thick silence that felt even more oppressive than before. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling as I clutched the edge of the doorframe. The dust swirled gently around me, particles catching the faint light, but my focus was entirely on any sign of movement. Nothing. Just shadows shifting in the corners. I took a step back into the room filled with boxes, hoping an answer was hidden among the relics of the past. The photo frame still beckoned me, almost sizzling with potential secrets. My fingers brushed its surface, and I lifted it from the pile. Just as I did, a loud thump came from the far corner, startling me enough to almost drop the frame. I whirled around, expecting to see something lurking beyond the darkness. Instead, I saw a disturbance in the dust, as if something intangible had just passed through. My heart raced again, and I fought the instinct to flee. Instead, I squinted into the shadowed areas, searching for the source of the noise. Then it happened, a whisper floated through the air, barely above a breath, "Help me." My pulse quickened. It was the same voice as the girl. But where was she? I looked back at the photo, finally orienting my hand to face it properly. The image revealed a family, a woman, a man, and 2 children, one of whom looked remarkably like the girl I had seen. The date stamped on the corner put it decades back, long before I ever set foot in this house. Is this your family?" I breathed, holding the frame closer. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as if answering for me when I heard a slow creaking from behind. I turned just enough to see the back door had swung open wider, an invitation or a warning I couldn't tell. My mind raced. What did I do? A part of me wanted to run, while another insisted I needed answers. I moved cautiously back toward the entrance, each breath feeling labored. The house had been still for so long, there was no reason for movement now. But as I stepped toward the open doorway, something tangible shifted behind me. I pivoted just in time to catch sight of a shadow flitting through the corner of my vision. It sent a pulse of adrenaline through me. Whatever it was, it seemed aware of my presence, or perhaps it was watching me, waiting for me to make a decision. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen, louder than the thump before. I didn't want to know what was happening, but curiosity gripped me harder than fear. I plunged into the hallway, heart hammering in my chest, rushing toward the sound. As I neared the kitchen, I saw a ragged shape crouched low, a figure wrestling with something on the floor. Before I could grasp the situation, it snapped its head up to face me, its eyes gleaming wildly. "Get out!" It screamed, and I felt my entire body freeze. I stumbled back, realizing now that there was more to this house than I'd ever expected. The figure before me was a man, wild-eyed and disheveled, clinging to a broken chair leg like a weapon. Panic surged through me. I had no idea who he was or what he wanted, but his presence made the dark corners of the house feel even more sinister. "Please," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is going on?" He glanced over his shoulder, as if expecting something to leap from the shadows. His breath came quick, uneven. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." I could hardly comprehend his words. What did he mean? The house felt alive, pulsing with secrets. I took a hesitant step closer, my curiosity edging past my fear. "What do you mean? Who are you?" He shook his head violently, hair flying. "There's no time. They come at night. You have to leave now." I searched his face, looking for answers. There was something familiar about him, something in the way he carried himself that tugged at my memory. "Have you seen her?" I blurted out. The girl? The one from the photo? She needs help. At the mention of her, his expression shifted, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. The girl, his voice turned cold. She's trapped. She wants to be free, but it won't happen like that. They won't let it. A chill raced down my spine. Who was they? I felt the air grow heavier, as if the room itself was holding its breath. What do you know? Please, I need to understand. Before he could respond, a noise echoed from further within the house, a soft whispering that grew louder, piercing my chest like a shard of ice. It was the same voice again, calling out. Help me. Help me. I shivered, torn between the man before me and the beckoning cry. I glanced back toward the living room, the photo still clutched in my hand, a thread tethering me to something beyond this troubled man. You shouldn't go, he warned again, eyes wide with fear. It's not just her. They're all around. They won't let you leave. My mind spun. I longed to save the girl, but was I making a mistake? The figures that haunted this place had begun to blend into my thoughts, their intentions muddled. I have to try. I can't just walk away, I replied, resolute. The man seemed to sense my determination and let out a shaky breath. Then you need this. He thrust the chair leg toward me, and I took it, confusion weighing down my resolve. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open, as if propelled by an unseen force. Cold air swept through the space, carrying with it the low whisper and the stench of decay, sending my instincts into overdrive. Go. Now. He shouted, panic storming his eyes. The air thickened, and shadows surged forward, stretching across the room. It felt as if the house itself were warning me, urging me to back away. But before I could react, the figure lunged at me, grabbing my arm. Run! He yelled, and I felt his urgency tearing me out of my stupor. I bolted past him, adrenaline surging, heart racing as the shadows closed in. The whisper grew louder, swirling around me, until I couldn't tell where it came from or who it belonged to. I dashed for the door, but as I neared the threshold, a sharp wind slammed it shut in front of me. The man's cry echoed behind me, mingling with the whispers as despair gripped my insides. Then everything went dark. I gasped as consciousness returned, the cold cement floor pressing into my back. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust to the faint light creeping in through cracks in the boarded-up windows. The air was stale, thick with dust and something else I couldn't quite place. I sat up slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. As I looked around, I realized I was in the basement. The walls were damp and the beams overhead creaked eerily with every tiny shift. I drew my knees up to my chest, trying to gather my thoughts. The man, what had happened to him? Was he still up there, battling the shadows? I reached into my pocket, fingers brushing against the chair leg he had given me. Clutching it tightly, I felt a surge of resolve. I couldn't let that be the end of it. I had to find out what happened to the girl, to uncover the truth buried in this house. I searched for a way out. The basement looked like a maze of old furniture and boxes, remnants of lives once lived. I forced myself to stand, the leg feeling reassuring in my hand. Nothing there seemed familiar, but I noticed a faint light seeping through a door at the far end. Less cautiously now, I made my way through the clutter. My heart raced as shadows flickered at the edges of my vision, but I shook off the dread that threatened to pull me under. I could hear the whispering again, soft and persistent, as if it was beckoning me. Help me. Please help me. The voice echoed, chilling and familiar. I reached the door, hesitating. What waited beyond? I turned the handle slowly, its rusty creak seeming impossibly loud. As the door swung open, I was hit by a wave of cold air. The room I entered was dimly lit by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were lined with old photographs, faces gazing back at me, some smiling, some somber. My breath caught as I recognized a girl among them, her long hair, the angle of her jaw. It was her. I stumbled backward, heart racing. The girl from my dreams, the girl from the photo. My thoughts veered wildly. How had she ended up here? And why did she seem to be watching me through those frames? Suddenly, a sound cut through my shock. A loud thud reverberated behind me. I spun around, feeling the pull of fear tightening around my throat. Shadows shifted in the corner of the room, coalescing into a figure. It was not the man but something darker. Leave now. The voice was different, lower, more menacing. You don't belong here. Panic surged in me, igniting every nerve. I backed away slowly, the old photographs blurring into a haze. I couldn't let them trap me here with a darkness I couldn't understand. As I turned to run, I heard the girl's voice again, more insistent. Please don't go. You have to help me. The walls seemed to close in as I raced for the door. I had to make a choice quickly. Would I trust the girl, or would I heed the warning of the shadow? I sprinted toward the exit, but before I could reach it, the door slammed shut. Instinctively, I raised the chair leg, ready to fight whatever I needed to fight. The darkness loomed closer, and panic set in as I realized I was trapped. I didn't know if I was saving the girl or stepping into a deeper web of danger. Then, from the shadows, I heard footsteps drawing near, each a reminder that I wasn't alone. The footsteps echoed around the room, heavy and deliberate. I froze, the chair leg gripped tightly in my hand, heart thundering like a drum. The tension in the air thickened, filled with something cold and wild as I strained to catch a glimpse of the shadowy figure. Show yourself. I shouted, my own voice sounding foreign to my ears, tinged with desperation. The darkness shifted in response but didn't reveal itself. The girl's voice called out again, softer now, almost pleading. You have to find me. I glanced at the photographs one more time. They had become more than just images, they felt like a path, a connection. I moved cautiously toward the wall, scanning the faces. Anxiety coiled in my stomach, but curiosity pulled me close. Each photo showed a different scene: birthdays, holidays, moments of laughter, but there was always a sense of loss threaded through them. Something caught my eye: a photograph that looked different. It was slightly tilted, almost hiding something beneath it. I reached up and pulled it free, revealing a faded letter taped beneath. My heart skipped as I tore it open. The words were shaky, hastily written, "They can't find me. It's too late for me, but you can still help others. Follow the light." The shadows around me flickered, and a chill swept through the room as if the darkness was aware of my discovery. I turned, instinctively scanning the space for the presence that was still drawing closer. The air felt electric, alive with unspoken threats. There, at the edge of the light, stood the figure, its features out of reach, blurred. But there were no hints of warmth, just a heavy darkness that seemed to suck the light from the bulb above me. I could sense anger rolling off it in waves. "You shouldn't be here," it growled, and every word felt like a cold gust of wind. I shifted, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I held the chair leg steady. "I'm not leaving without her," I shouted back, surprising even myself. Maybe it was the letter that fueled my resolve. As if energized by my defiance, a flicker of light appeared in the corner of my vision, a faint glow coming from behind another door at the back of the room. My instincts flared, I needed to act quickly. "Stay away from me," I yelled as I darted toward the other door, feeling the shadow lurch behind me. It was an image of desperation as I threw myself against the door, half expecting it to open, but it wouldn't budge. The cold breath of the shadow washed over me. I braced for impact, knowing I had only moments before it would be upon me. With one last push, I grabbed the handle and yanked with all my strength. The door swung open, revealing a narrow staircase leading up. "Please, don't." The girl's voice was fading, swallowed by the noise of uncertainty. I hesitated, but as I felt the shadow's presence loom closer, I took the plunge into the darkness of the staircase, my heart pounding. There was no turning back now. I felt the chill surrounding me, but I pressed forward, gripped by fear and the flickering hope that somewhere up there, I might uncover the truth. And maybe, just maybe, I could save her. But as I climbed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something far worse awaited above. As I ascended the narrow staircase, the air grew colder, each breath I took felt like it could freeze in my lungs. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced myself to grip the railing tighter. The wood creaked beneath my touch, as if warning me of what was to come. At the top, I found a small landing. Dim light leaked from an open door at the end of a hallway. Flickering shadows danced on the walls, making them appear almost alive. I stepped cautiously forward, aware that the darkness behind me was still lurking, watching, waiting. "Please, hurry," the girl's voice echoed softly, now filled with urgency. It sent a jolt through me. I needed to find her. I approached the open door and peered inside. The room was eerily decorated, filled with broken furniture and dusty relics. Old toys were strewn about, a cracked doll stared up at me with button eyes that felt too real. It made my skin crawl. But my attention was drawn to a figure in the corner. A faint outline of a girl sat on the floor, her hair falling in disheveled strands over her face. "Help me," she whispered, extending her hand toward me. Are you the one from the pictures?" I croaked, stepping closer. As I crossed the threshold, I felt a strange warmth envelop me, counteracting the cold that had gripped the house. "Yes," she said, her voice stronger now, "but you need to be careful. He's coming." "Who?" I asked, glancing back toward the hallway. The shadows seemed thicker, darker, almost forming a barrier with tendrils reaching toward me. The girl clutched a small object in her hand. "The shadow, it won't let me go. It wants to keep me here forever. You have to help me break the curse." A chill ran through me at the word curse. What had I stumbled into? My mind raced as I weighed my options. I could run, escape this haunting nightmare, but something deep down told me that I needed to stay to fight for her. "What do I do?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her gaze shifted to the old mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. "Find the light. It's the only way." Suddenly, the temperature dropped sharply. I could sense the shadow shifting outside the room, aware that I was no longer alone. A low growl echoed from deep within the darkness, sending a shudder down my spine. "Please, hurry," she urged again, her eyes wide with fear now. I turned toward the mirror, heart racing as I approached it. My own reflection stared back, but it was different, darker. The girl was no longer in the corner, her image fading as the shadow crept closer. In a sudden rush of adrenaline, I grabbed the mirror's frame, feeling a surge of warmth flow through me. "I'll save you," I cried out, my heart pounding wildly. But then, in an instant, the mirror shattered, sharp shards flying in all directions. That's when I saw it, something moving in the fragments of glass, a gruesome visage that sent chills through my bones. It wasn't just darkness anymore, it was a face lurking in the shards, grinning at me. Then everything went dark. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. My heart raced as I instinctively reached for the edges of the broken mirror, but I felt nothing but jagged glass and empty air. A thick silence enveloped me, pressing against my ears. Where had the girl gone? "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. No response came. I felt so alone, like I was trapped in some sort of void. Panic clawed at my chest, but I fought against it. I had to remain strong. Just then, a soft flicker of light appeared ahead, illuminating the space around me. It couldn't be real. Shadows twisted within the light like veins of darkness trying to corrupt whatever hope was left. I moved toward it, hesitant yet compelled. As I stepped forward, I started to see something in the glow, a doorway framed in the light. I squinted, trying to make out the details. As I approached, I noticed it was a door I hadn't seen before. It felt strange, almost like it manifested from the darkness. The doorknob was old, rusted, but it seemed to gleam faintly, beckoning me closer. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the cold, metal surface. It felt alive, pulsing beneath my touch. With a deep breath, I turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a room unlike the one I'd just left. This new space was filled with light, vibrant and almost blinding. Tables were arranged with paper and ink, and the scent of old books filled the air. Yet, the sight was marred by a sense of dread. The colors were exaggerated, as if something about this place was fundamentally wrong. In the middle of the room stood a woman, her back turned to me. She was dressed in a long, flowing gown that sparkled unnaturally in the light. Something about her movement felt familiar yet unsettling. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, an instinct urging me to turn back. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The woman slowly turned around. Her face was eerily serene, but the smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "I've been waiting for you," she said, her voice smooth like silk, but it carried an undercurrent of something darker, something I couldn't place. "Where is she?" I demanded, remembering the girl from before. "What have you done with her?" "Do not worry about her," the woman replied, tilting her head slightly. "She is in the past, just like time itself slipping away, forgotten. You need to embrace the truth of this place." I took a step back, my mind racing. Was this another trap? What truth? What do you mean? The woman extended her hand towards me, her fingers elongated and ghostly pale. "The shadow is not just a force. It is part of you, a reflection of your fears. Release it or be consumed, just like the girl." In that moment, everything came crashing back: the broken mirror, the darkness creeping closer, the low growl echoing behind me. The room felt like it was spinning, the light distorting my senses. I felt lost, teetering on the edge of something monstrous. Then, from the depths of the shadows, I heard the same voice from before, frantic but now echoing. "Help me." The woman's smile widened. "It's time for you to choose." And just like that, the lights flickered, dimming once more, leaving me engulfed in shadows. I had to make a choice, and I had to make it fast. I took a deep, labored breath, aware that time was slipping away with each moment of hesitation. The woman's unsettling smile loomed in my thoughts, and the girl's desperate pleas echoed around me, wrapping me in a web of fear and urgency. My heart raced, and I forced myself to step away from the oppressive grip of the glowing room. "Let her go!" I shouted, breaking the suffocating silence. "You don't own her, and you want to take me too." The woman's smile faded slightly, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. "You do not understand," she warned, her voice losing its smoothness. "The shadow reveals the truth. You must face it, or be blinded forever." I clenched the chair leg tightly, feeling its reassuring presence. I wouldn't allow fear to make my choices for me. The shadow looming just outside the light was tangible now, its form shifting and evolving, as if responding to my defiance. "Show yourself!" I yelled, summoning every ounce of courage. As if in answer, the shadow surged forward, clawing at the light, revealing a twisted face haunting, familiar, malevolent. My heart skipped several beats, but I pressed forward. This was my chance. I had to connect the dots, between the girl, the photographs, and the shadow haunting me. "You're trapped in this cycle. You want to keep her here. You want me to be afraid." The creature hesitated, its form flickering like a mirage, and I felt a rush of hope. It wasn't just fear, it reflected everything I had buried within myself. It was time to confront it, to break the cycle for both of us. "I want to be part of this," I declared, taking a step closer. The girl's voice strengthened in my mind, urging me to continue. "I'm not giving in." The moment I resolved my will, the room pulsed with energy. I could see bits of light breaking through the shadow's encroaching darkness, little sparks of hope reminding me just how powerful the truth could be. With a loud crash, the last remnants of the light flickered around me, and in that intensity, I felt an ethereal tug. I pushed against it, testing my will. I saw the girl's face, her pale features reflecting fear and hope. "Help me." I lunged forward, reaching out toward her. "I'm here. Let us get out of this together." I grasped the photo frame tightly that I had held onto since the beginning. "You don't have to linger in the dark." The creature screeched, a sound that echoed through the walls, reverberating deep into the depths of my soul. But I refused to back down. Instead, I turned the photo frame toward the shadow, forcing it into the light of revelation. The love captured, the memories stolen, the lives lived beyond this cursed existence. The shadow writhed and shrieked, scrambling back from the light. I pressed forward, calling out, "You don't get to keep her. You can't take her from reality." Fragments of darkness crumbled away, thrown into silvery dust, and the girl began to step out from the shadows that had consumed her. Light enveloped her, illuminating her form as she moved toward me, her smile reassuring yet timid. "Help me," she whispered as if awakening from a long dream. Finally, with a roar, the shadow dissipated into nothingness. A flood of warmth washed over me, and I found myself enveloped in the bright light that had formed between us. In that instant, everything changed. The unbearable weight of fear lifted, and the remnants of shadows grew thin. I stood in the center of a brilliant glow, and the world behind us began to fade. I held my breath, fear lingering, but now fueled by hope and determination. Before I could ask any questions, the girl clasped my hand tightly. "We're leaving," she said, the finality in her voice igniting hope. Light swirled around us, and we were swept away, shifting through memories and time until everything blurred into white. The last thing I heard was her voice, soft like a soft wind, "You helped me." When consciousness returned, I was lying on the basement floor, the remains of the mirror scattered nearby, and the air was still once more. I stood up, dazed but free. The basement felt lighter, somehow, as if layers of darkness had peeled away. I held my breath, searching for any sign of the girl or the shadow, but all was silent. The photos still hung on the wall above, where whispers of laughter and memories lingered, but they felt strangely hopeful now, as if they could carry stories of resilience. After a moment, I shuffled to the stairway, climbing carefully back into the light of the house. I stepped into the now familiar living room where everything had begun. There was a lingering unease, but the shadows seemed softer, even playful. Yet, as much as I wanted to forget, unanswered questions chased me. Would the darkness return? Had the girl found her peace? Would I ever fully understand the nature of what happened here, the intertwining of memory and reality? Some truths linger in the corners of life, unreachable yet close enough to touch if you listen closely enough. I took a deep breath, looking around the house filled with shadows of the past. Maybe it wasn't about fully grasping every detail. Maybe it was enough to carry the weight of what I had learned, and the memories I now held not just of what had happened, but of the strength I had found within myself. And so, I closed the door behind me, knowing I might never return, but reminding myself that sometimes, light dwells in places once filled with shadows. A tender hope flickered in my heart as I stepped back into the world, forever changed but still seeking answers.